Frankie Boyer.
And welcome. It is nice to have you with us right here on Biz Talk Radio. And I always enjoy having George Nagle with us. He's an MBA, holds a second master's degree in science, specializing in human psychology. Kind of gives him that unique insight into how we can use our body chemistry to get mentally unstuck at work. And how many of us are stuck? Yeah. How many of you sit there thinking, gosh, I wish I could come up with a new something. I wish I could do something different today. I wish my thinking were different. George, you say that. Welcome back, by the way. You say that it is all possible. It is all possible. And tell us why.
Well, Frankie, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk with you. So thank you for having me back. And it's all possible when we believe it is, right? Henry Ford is quoted as saying, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right, which is so indicative of how we can get our minds to a place where we can start to believe and do. And when people do get stuck, there's things that we can do with our bodies that actually can get us unstuck and driving things. And it's just how we approach it and then do it and then feel about it.
So how can you take, this is something that you've been doing because ideas are part of your DNA. Your 3 books, tell everybody about your 3 books. The Breakthrough Thinking book series.
Breakthrough Thinking series. That's right. Breakthrough Thinking series. So the first one is the 5-letter F word that really gets into how we can transform our culture and then lay down amazing communication about our priorities and strategy. Then the middle book is Miserable at Work, Why You Don't Have to Be, which really breaks into that innate creativity that we all have and helps people unleash it to bring out the ideas that inspire us and that we really want to work on and get things moving. Then the final book, How Are Kids Innovating Faster Than You, is the process of taking all of that amazing information that we've gathered and formed into an idea and executing on it really fast. And in most cases, we can introduce true innovation, not just an iteration, in 8 months. So they all come together and give us a path.
You know, I had an assignment. My first day at Boston Magazine, going back 1,000 years, and I had no reference because it was my first day, so I didn't know what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And I was told to go out and walk the streets and come up with an idea. So I went to Chinatown. I walked into each and every individual block and created a full page, actually 2-page spread where everyone got a small little ad, but promoting how fun it is in Boston's Chinatown and the little gems that are known. And each one that participated got to talk about their little gem. And then I came back with like 100 fortune cookies from one of the vendors. And I walked in and got the fortune cookies and gave everybody the fortune cookies from the Hoi Toi Noodle Factory. And then I'll never forget this. And I put out the spread, and he just sat there and said, "You did this just now." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "That's amazing." But I didn't know any better, George.
So, Frankie, I love that story because it's fantastic in that it can show us when we don't have a preconceived bias or notion of what it's supposed to be, how beautiful we can come up with something that people are going to like and find value in. That's a great story for people who are maybe just nervous about going into something because they don't know what they're doing. great. That means you actually are bringing a lot of power and maybe unlocking some people that might be stuck in their thinking to doing something new and with a different approach. And people love seeing things and hearing stories just like that because it helps them believe that they can do it too.
Well, not only that, but then he sent everybody to the North Shore. We'll do a double page spread on Salem and we'll do a double page, and so it got his mind thinking, and I created a monster with all of these spreads, but it worked. And it was a creative way to bring in revenue in a time when it was, not an easy issue to sell that summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you guys had a lot of fun doing it, and you got engagement from others that had fun giving you their little spiel, right? When we can engage people that way, bringing them value and fun, sometimes the money just seems like it's appearing out of nowhere, especially during tight times.
Right, exactly.
And when you divide
when you divide the pie into so many different places, of course it makes it more affordable and easier to grasp.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's what Ed Ripley did. That's how he got famous during the Depression, was because he was doing those little things, and he just divided it and became a multimillionaire during one of our worst economic periods ever.
Which leads us to how, in this day and age, with everybody freaking out about the price of everything, where is it that we need to open our brains? Where is it that idea factory in our brains can start to shine? Give us some tips.
Yeah. So the way we can get it to shine is by relaxing our process of trying to think. When people are at work, they are what we like to call in busy beta. And it's where our mind is really just doing what we do, going through the paces. I mean, we're not doing it blindly. We have some thought because we're usually jumping from thing to thing, and that requires us to pay attention to what's happening. But our mind is just kind of locked in. It's similar to if somebody's ever driven somewhere and from, let's say, the office to home and wondered how they got there. They don't remember the drive. Our brain was locked in. It already did it. And that's where we need to get out of. And I can tell you the easiest way to do that is by hitting what we call aspiring alpha. And people tell me all the time they get their best ideas right before they fall asleep, or right as they're waking up, or when they're in the shower, or out doing a walk. That's where we need to get our mind. And it's because we aren't focusing on the thinking process in and of itself. We're focusing on something else, and our brain just naturally says, oh, you know what, this might be a great idea. And your story is fantastic because you're out walking and you're talking to different people, and it just came to you, right? Like it just was there.
Right.
So when we want people to do that, we need to do something either that induces laughter, something that induces some type of physical stimulus, or something that gets us internally to release some different chemicals.
Okay, so you say get the blood pumping.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we're stuck, one of my favorite things that I do when I get stuck, and it's really short, I will do 15 jumping jacks, I will do 15 sit-ups, and then I will do 15 more jumping jacks, and then I'll run in place for 30 seconds trying to get my knees up as high as I can. It takes less than 2 minutes. But the bringing of the arms and elevating the heart in different ways actually induces some chemical releases in our body. They're called our catecholamines, which most people would call adrenaline and noradrenaline. And when our body's pumping like that, it's making our blood move faster, which means our oxygen is circulating faster, and nothing like some fresh oxygen hitting our brain to really get it moving. And it's going to specifically release some different chemicals in our brain. Some of them are feel-good chemicals.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we have a lot more tips. Give us the best website as we go to break. George Nagle.
Simply Ideation, Emporium.com.
And welcome back. It is Frankie Boyer. George Nagle joining us once again. Has an MBA, has a couple of degrees, by the way. And we're talking about what happens when you get stuck. How do you get unstuck in life? How do you get unstuck? How do you get your brain to go in a different direction? How do you lose that fixation that you can't do it? Your brain is stuck. Well, George is giving us some tips today, right here on the Frankie Boyer Show on Biz Talk Radio. And so I love the first one, you're getting your blood pumping. But I love your second tip, because who doesn't love chocolate, George? Who doesn't love chocolate?
Yeah, the one with chocolate it's almost magical. So the tip is to eat a lot of chocolate, but you have to do it really fast. And when I say a lot of chocolate, I'm talking like 2 regular Hershey bars, and you're putting them down pretty quick, maybe within a minute. So people that are really chocolate lovers and have a connoisseur for it, I would caution doing this one, because it might ruin you for chocolate on how it works. But it works really, really well from the standpoint of what it's doing. One, it's got caffeine in it, so it's going to hit your system, but that takes a little bit longer. The thing that it really does is it stimulates the release of something called oxytocin, and that sometimes it's called the love hormone. And it just really gets the brain into a completely different area of stimulation for itself. And when we can do that, we're automatically breaking our thought patterns, and that's what it's all about. People will tell me, "Well, I just can't get out of my own head, and I keep coming back to these thoughts. And if I try these tips, is it going to really get me the new idea?" And my answer is no. It's going to break your train of thought. That allows you to start to form other ideas, to get other ideas, and that might stimulate a better idea of what you're trying to work on. And that's the key, is it's that chain effect that you get. It's not going to be, oh, I did this exercise and now I'm going straight back to hardcore thinking about this thing. That won't work. It's about breaking your thought process so that you can start thinking about other things, and then your brain will naturally come back to that important thing, and it's going to stimulate some thoughts.
I like that. But can you do it with healthy chocolate, like a Lily's chocolate bar that doesn't have sugar, but it's still chocolate?
If it is still chocolate, it should still work, because this runs the gamut. It has to be true cocoa in it, so I don't think white chocolates qualify for that. But if it has a chocolate component, it'll work. But you might get a tummy ache from it if you're not used to eating that much chocolate really fast.
Right. Okay. This one is very important. Number 3, laugh out loud.
Oh my. That might be number 1. My kids make fun of me for this, because I have saved on my phone several different clips that I just think are hilarious. 1 or 2 of them is probably not safe for everybody to be watching, so I'm very careful about when I watch them. But I watch them just to laugh. The laughing does a couple of things. We talked about catecholamines of adrenaline and noradrenaline. It does absolutely get into some oxytocin release, but it also gets some natural breakthroughs in our head. The fastest way to get out of what we called busy beta earlier into aspiring alpha is through laughter. It just lightens our entire body. It stimulates everything. It gets that heart rate going. It also gets that blood flow moving. And by laughing out loud, it gets our oxygen exchange even higher. It's just an amazing feeling. And it's why, if you want to find somebody that's really creative, look at kids. Kids laugh like 300 times a day. Adults laugh 17.
Wow.
So
absolutely. Yeah. I love laughter. I absolutely love it. Sometimes when I'm just down, I did it last night. It's been a tough week. One of my childhood friends died unexpectedly. Well, she had cancer, but they were expecting her to go in 3 to 6 months, and they had just told her she had 3 to 6 months to live, and she died the next day. So, but I put on a comedian that I love, and I just I just listened, and he got me to laugh. It was just so important for me to do that. It changed everything.
Yeah.
It just changed everything because, after days and days of crying and grief, I just said, I need a break from this. I just need to give my brain a break. And I did.
That's
I could watch.
Powerful testimonial there. It's great.
Yeah. Or my other favorite thing to do is to watch sports, but only if my team is winning. I couldn't take the risk if they were losing. I would be too angry. I get so angry at these games. I just can't even tell you. But it's important, though. Laughter is really, I just, we used to do, one of the things that we did at one of my other jobs was that we did pranks. We did pranks all the time. And some of them were a little naughty and would not be acceptable today. But back then it was. And boy, we just all roared on the ground laughing. It was just, they were just so funny. What we did was just so, so funny. And when you work so hard and there's so much stress that you could cut it, that laughter is even compounded even more. If that makes sense. Yep. If that makes sense. Yeah. I love that one. Yeah, I love laughter. Laughter is a good one. Now, for those of us that are not good in math, I don't know about number 5, George. Awful lot of work for my brain to do, but tell everybody what you recommend.
Yeah, so if we take the number 201 and we count backwards by 7, it's a struggle for our brain for most of us to do in just getting that pattern down, because there isn't a real pattern. So it requires us to engage our frontal cortex to a high degree. And when all the blood rushes there, it creates a different sensation for the brain, and it breaks our thought process. And that is the exact point, right? We're trying to do exactly that. And I would encourage people who aren't particularly good with math that they actually do that one frequently. It will help them immensely, because now they're focusing on something that might be a source of frustration for them. And if they can stop themselves and take a deep breath when they get frustrated with the exercise, they are going to double the effect.
I love it. George, we're almost out of time. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for all of these great tips. Everything that you do just makes us think a little bit more and how powerful it is for our brains. It really is. And give us the best website.
So the best website for us is the Ideation, Emporium.com.
Wonderful. And we will be in touch. Thanks, George. And stay tuned, everybody. It's Frankie Boyer, Biz Talk Radio. We'll be back in just a minute.